New details are emerging about a former CIA contractor who vanished in Iran 6.5 years ago, reportedly while on an unsanctioned spy mission. The Obama administration is under growing pressure to find Robert Levinson and bring him home. CBS News senior correspondent John Miller was an assistant director of the FBI when Levinson disappeared. What a muddied case this has become, John.
It has, and this wrinkle this week has given it a new dimension. This fact that he was working under contract for the CIA is something that the U.S. government, that the FBI, that the Levinson family was desperate to keep out of the press from the beginning of this case. But at this point, I think the family is taking a different tact on this. I mean, I think by now, their point of view is this guy was working for the United States, overseas, and this is just not a top priority. He's been gone 7 years. And we know that there's great people in the State Department who think about this and care about this. The same in the FBI, the same in the agency. But this is not at the top of the heap of things they're bringing up with Iran, especially at a time when they have a new dialogue. So I think at this point the family has changed their tact on that to say, hey, this is our guy. Right. What are we doing about it?
The CIA reportedly paid the family $2.5 million to keep quiet, John. So I mean, does this change that? I mean, that agreement essentially?
I think that the CIA paid the family $2.5 million along the lines of, he was working for us, right. He's being held, and you are a very large family who now has no breadwinner, and that may be our fault.
It was interesting to me that initially they were denying this till these emails came forward. What exactly was the work he was doing in Iran?
Well, that is part of being Bob Levinson. Now, Bob Levinson is a very interesting guy. He was an incredibly talented FBI agent. He specialized in organized crime and the 5 families in New York City, then moved on to the Russian mob in Miami, and then retired. And in retirement, working on contracts for different companies, private entities as a private eye, one of them being the CIA. He would go to different places, research different criminal networks, expert in money laundering, expert in interviewing people and eliciting information. One of the things that the CIA liked about him was he could come up with products that were very different from what they were getting when they tasked other people for research on a country. So he had a lot of things going. Part of what he was doing in Dubai involved organized crime networks, counterfeit cigarette rings, but the trip to Iran was different.
So what's the next step now, though, in trying to get him home?
Well, I think that this disclosure may jumpstart that. It does 2 things. From the U.S., it makes them uncomfortable because now there's this fact out there that he was under contract for the CIA. From the standpoint of Iran, though, they've never admitted to having him. So they can sit back and they can recalculate the story, which is we went from a narrative where we kidnapped some innocent businessman who was on a free trade zone to, hey, we caught a spy, which means the calculus there becomes, who does America have under arrest or in jail that we want? And now you get into the conversation of doing a straight trade.
We should mention that 3 analysts were fired over this, and it changed a little bit of the protocol also.
Well, it didn't so much change the protocol as they were fired for not going by the existing protocol. And after that, they really took the hammer down on tightening those rules that already existed. But the basic on that, Vanita, was the analysis division does analysis, and they contract people for research to feed into analysis. The operations division of the CIA runs operations, and that means case officers in the field recruit agents. In this case, the analysis division was using a researcher as an agent, and he got jammed up, and they were stuck with that. So 3 people were fired over this case.
John Miller, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.